Hey, Aaron, how are you?
I'm well, Adnan. Thank you for having me.
Well, good to see you. We're doing this on Tuesday, the day after 4th of July. I hope you had some nice celebrations.
Very nice. Yes.
All right. Well, I figured without any further ado, let's start out a little bit of background about yourself, and then we'll get into your book. What was your name of the book again?
Reconnecting to the earth,
And
reclaiming our relationship to nature and ourselves.
I don't want to put you on the spot. Can you just tell me how long have you been an author with Ozark Mountain Publishing?
This is my first book with Ozark Mountain, though I have published about 5 other books.
Oh, all right. Okay, well, welcome to the to this new series that Ozark is trying now, the Ozark Mountain Publishing Author Series, and I'm hoping to just as the process goes on to learn a lot about the authors and just about what life changes happen in their lives to, because it's not every day that people just go, oh, I just want to write a book about something, and so usually it's an important event. So let's start out with your background information and just who you are, and then we'll get into how you came about to write your book.
So my journey really started when I went away to college at Tulane in New Orleans, and I met a Japanese karate master and started training with him. And at the same time, I met a Chinese Tai Chi master. And so I got into the martial arts pretty heavily, both the hard style and the soft styles. And that was something that I just immediately latched onto and started diving into as much as I could. It led me to Japan. I lived in Japan for about 3.5 years, studying and training over there, teaching English to children, doing a number of other things. And I gradually just started making my way, learning various styles, learning different modalities of the martial arts, and then I got an opportunity to move to Australia, and I moved there and lived there for 9 years. And down there, I got very involved in yoga. There was a wonderful instructor who um, I went through her teacher training. It was just amazing. It opened up a whole new part of this. I've been doing a lot of the martial arts and the mind body training, but the yoga really allowed me to go deeper into understanding how the body works and how the energy flows through our bodies. So I got very involved in that, and eventually decided I needed to put the whole thing together, all these various parts of everything I had been studying. So I created a style of yoga called Zen yoga, and that I spent many years traveling and teaching and writing books about that, and DVDs and meditation CDs and things like that. And through that process, as I went deeper into the study of turning inwards and understanding about how the energy flows through us, it really became clear that there is a much bigger picture, and that's our connection to all things, and especially the natural world, where um, every being in the natural world is a part of this energy web that we live in. And my work sort of turned in that direction, where I started studying and becoming more aware, and actually spending a lot of time out in nature, um, fostering and creating a relationship with the natural world, and understanding the exchange of energy between the humans that live on this planet and everyone else who lives on this planet.
And so, is there was there is what would be kind of the one of the main things that uh, that you can I guess kind of start out um, explaining, like if somebody is not aware about these energies and these connections, what is it that they on their individual level, besides just reading or hearing about it, what is it that they can do to kind of help them connect?
Well, that's a great question, because I really feel like people have become alienated from their vital individuality. We just don't have any intimacy with the natural world, where we're connected to our technology. The more we're plugged into that, the more disconnected we get from these rhythms of the natural world. And reconnecting to the earth was basically this idea of saying, hey, we've got this this problem of disconnection, and how can we get ourselves back to connecting with it? Because the indigenous populations, the native peoples all had a deep relationship with the natural spirit world, and if we're able to reconnect to that, then life becomes so much richer and so much more balanced, really. So I think people need to learn how to flow with life from their heart, and really connect not only the connection with the natural world, or with the earth itself, is really about connecting with yourself, and then allowing that connection with yourself to connect to all the other parts of the world.
And so, I guess it's kind of a lot of times an overused example, but is meditation, a good way to kind of start that out for pretty much anyone?
So I kind of look at it. There's four. I sort of look at it as four different parts of ourselves. We have our mind, of course. We have our body, and then we have something that we call a spirit, and something that we also call a soul. And for that, the mind is pretty easy. It's that thought process, the everything that goes on in our heads all the time. The body is obvious because it's our physical presence. But the spirit and the soul are a little more intangible and harder to understand. And the way I look at it is that this thing we call the spirit is the part of us that's connected to all things, to the trees and the plants and the animals and the bugs and the fish, and just everything out in the world. There's this unified field of energy, and the part of us that is connected to that field of energy is what I call our spirit. And then we have something called the soul, which would be that unique part of us that is different from every other being, from all the other people, from all the animals and the plants and the trees, and so on. And so we really have these four parts of us that, if we can get each one of them into balance, then we're going to be able to live a much more interconnected life with the earth and all the beings that live on it. So yes, meditation would be one of the practices for the mind aspect of ourself, to calm the mind, meditation basically is sitting quietly and breathing. And so what that does is that allows, if you take a glass of water and you throw a handful of dirt in the glass of water and shake it up, and you set it on a table, then you have a glass of water that's got this really dirty, swirling dirt going around in it. And that's what that could be thought of as what our minds are like during most of the regular day. We have all this stuff just swirling around inside of us, random thoughts, songs, talk, et cetera, et cetera. So what meditation is just setting it on the table and leaving it there. And what happens is that dirt eventually just starts to slowly sink down to the bottom of the glass, and the water becomes clear again. And so if you think of meditation as just sitting there and allowing all those swirling thoughts in the head to just calm down and settle down as you focus on your breathing and sit in silence, then your mind starts to get a little clearer. And what happens is, when the mind gets clearer, we're able to hear things that we don't normally hear. And a good example is birds singing, or the water, the stream, the water in the stream flowing, or the wind through the trees, or these kinds of things that we're sort of subconsciously aware but not really paying attention to. When you sit in meditation, these other sounds, these even your own heartbeat, these other sounds start to become bigger and take up a bigger space, which they deserve to have.
I was. What are your thoughts on this? Is something that I heard a long time ago, and just recently came up fairly often. So I don't believe in accidents. So it's something that tells me to pay attention to. But my uncle, a long time ago, he used to. He probably still does. I haven't talked to him in a while, but he was big into triathlons and running long distances. And a lot of times, he would always go out for these long runs, and he would always, I would tell him, I said, do you constantly feel like you have to train all the time? He's like, well, it's not always about the training. Sometimes I just feel so at peace just running, and I can just work out some things and work out, problems or whatever he might have at that time. And so that was pretty interesting. And then just recently, through some other YouTube videos, just watching different things I like to watch, these several different people have brought up activity that is also meditative to them. And so it reminded me a long time ago, because I used to do martial arts way, way long ago. And so another thing, so I remember when you're active, you do kind of get into that zone that can be meditative. So what are your thoughts about just activity with that they can be just as therapeutic as just sitting as well, to kind of calm your mind and get things in order?
So I don't, it's not quite a style, but in the martial arts we have something called kung fu, which is a Chinese term, and really what that means, it's something that you practice over and over and over again, and you put your time and your effort into it. And when you do something like that, and it doesn't necessarily have to specifically be a martial art, it could be running, it could be playing the piano, it could be whatever, anything that you put your time and your effort into and focus on becomes your kung fu. And really what that means is you become focused, you become intimately connected to the experience of doing it, and that in itself becomes a meditative practice, becomes a deeper, more spiritual practice of of bettering yourself, of cultivating, working on who you are and your individual purpose of becoming who you are. And so I like to look at it as a kung fu. So his running would be his kung fu, so it very much is a meditation. The deeper you go into a practice that you're very connected to, everything you do becomes a meditation.
So, Aaron, tell me a little bit about your book and how that came about.
Well, I have a very close circle of people who are into a lot of the native traditions, where we have a lot of reverence for the ancestors and the native people who lived on the lands, and their whole life was based around being in right relationship with the earth. And the more I go into that, the more I understand it. The earth is really a sacred, it's sacred, and all the living beings that are on the planet should be revered and cherished. And I think what really got me spurred more and more into heading in this direction is that just witnessing what we're doing to the planet. We really are not taking care of the planet. we're cutting down the rainforests, we're polluting the oceans. You could just go on and on about how much we're not paying attention to what we're doing. And it really starts to get to you. The more connected to the natural world you are, the more you start to feel a need to speak out and start doing something about it, because it's really up to all of us to um, to play a part in the direction that everything's going here.
And so, what is it specifically that you're describing in the book for the reader?
So the first part of the book basically just goes through, a lot of the difficulties we're having, and discussing how, modern society acts as if the earth is its plaything. It's all the resources are ours to take and use and exploit and discard in whatever fashion. Um, and then I also go into how everybody's just so plugged in, and they feel like they watch a Discovery Channel video about nature, and they think they're getting their nature. And instead, what's happening is we're all becoming more and more fearful of actually going out into the world, into the natural world. I can't tell you how many people. I run some various retreats and programs up here on the mountain in Vermont, and many people come up here and they're afraid to be outside, afraid to be in their bare feet on the grass, because, oh, there's ticks and there's snakes and there's spiders and all these horrible things that are gonna get them. And honestly, the most dangerous thing out there in the world are other humans. It's not so much that nature is, there, of course there's things like ticks or whatever that can be a little annoying, but the natural world is not the threat. I think it's the humans that are the threat.
That's interesting. You say that because I remember when I first moved out, and where I live now, or at least the first time where I moved out from my parents into a house basically on 6 acres, and it was out in the middle of nowhere pretty much. And that was something that I had to learn, is to overcome that. I call it programming, because there was everything out. I mean, every bug that I've known and I've never seen before. There were snakes, copperheads, the black king snakes, as they call them, and it took me a long time to get used to that, to just see that as a natural way of being. Because when you're in the city, everything must go. It's like there's a bug, eradicated. There's this, get it away. And to realize that I'm more in their environment, and just kind of having to just let them go where they need to go, and we'll just kind of pass each other, in our daily path and our life. So is this kind of also then the book's supposed to just kind of help people to I guess get over that, to then attain a better understanding about themselves and their environment?
Well, yeah, I think that's really a key thing, is that all of these animals or these bugs or whatever, they're just doing their thing. And yes, a snake can be dangerous if you go and uproot, turn over its rock and start digging around, or scaring it from whatever it's doing. But for the most part, these animals, bugs, whatever, they're just going about their business. And if you give them the respect that all beings should have, then they're going to leave you alone. A bear in the woods is not out there to try and kill you and attack you. The bear is out there looking for food and protecting its young. If you get in the way between the bear and its young, yes, it's going to be upset about that. But if you keep your distance, you show your respect, then the bear is just going to go on its own business and not be out there trying to do something. Of course, always situations where a bear's been scarred by a previous encounter and things like that may happen, but for the most part, nature is just going about its business, and we come in and cause the problems. And yeah, that is what the book is about. At least the first part is really explaining where we are, how we've gotten here, and that something needs to be done about it. The second half of the book is really, I didn't want to just talk about, oh, we got all these problems, we got all this terrible thing happening, and let's all just hope it gets better. No, we really have to actually do something. So the second part of the book is really about what we can do as individuals for ourselves to get ourselves in a place where we are then able to connect to the earth, connect to the other beings, not just humans, but all beings, and really help sort of turn this situation around, even though it's pretty difficult.
Do you just basically give more examples about just to kind of what they do on the individual level? Let's say it's okay, fine, meditating is great, calming yourself down is great, reconnected is great, but then what?
Okay, so I call it rebalancing, and the first part of it is rebalancing our bodies. We have to we're out of balance. We're really out of balance with the planet, and I think that's pretty clear with the way that everything's going. And so it starts by rebalancing the body, and by rebalancing the body, I mean we have to learn to get our body so we're not in that sympathetic parasympathetic nervous system where we're always in this mode of flight or fright. We're scared, we're anxious, our bodies are always tense. We need to calm that down and settle that down. And so that's done through learning how to breathe properly, which is fundamental. Learning how to breathe effectively, getting more oxygen, more energy into the body. If you know how it works, when we breathe, we take in the oxygen, it's converted to energy, it flows to all the parts of our body, it clears out toxins and impurities in the body, and then we expel that as carbon dioxide. Now, if the process is working properly, then we're in balance. But most of the time we breathe very shallow, especially in modern, society. We're breathing very shallow. We're breathing pollution. And we're very unconscious when we breathe. And so that breath is not working the best way that it can. It's more like we're just subsisting on just enough to keep the body working properly. Instead, if we can convert that into a much deeper, longer, slower breath, then we're going to get more oxygen. We're going to have more energy. It's going to clear out more of those toxins and impurities. And then the body will start to come to a homeostasis of where it feels good and it's able to function properly. At the same time, you add in movement of gentle stretching, gentle movement, not complicated, big, intricate yoga poses or running 10 miles or whatever, but just some gentle movement and stretching so that you can open pathways in the body for this energy that we're breathing in now, for that energy to then circle around to the various parts of the body that need it. And again, bring the body to homeostasis. The body wants to be in balance. It's just all the things in our life cause it to get out of balance. So by rebalancing the body, then we get our body back online and able to handle what we're going to do. So once the body's in balance, then we start rebalancing the mind. And this is what we were speaking of before, where we start practicing that meditation, where we allow that dirt that's swirling around in the glass of water to calm and settle down. So the body's healthy with the breathing, the mind starts to calm down, and we're really able to open ourselves and start to actually feel, instead of being all up in our heads all the time, to start feeling a little more with our heart center. So then we have rebalancing the spirit, which is the third of the four. And rebalancing the spirit is really, as I said before, the spirit is the part of us that's connected to all things. And so in order to do that, we actually have to go outside and make some relationships with the natural world. I mean, and this literally may be just go out and sit under a tree, or take a little 3 foot by 3 foot square on the ground and just sit and watch it and watch the bugs walk by, watch the grass grow, whatever it may be. We need to have some kind of relationship with the natural world in order for us to stimulate the health of our connection to it. And it's a challenging thing because it's so seductive to be on the computer or on the phone or whatever and not go outside because, oh, it's all scary. But we really have to spend time out in nature just by ourselves, sitting and in training with that natural world. And so that's the rebalancing of the spirit. And then so finally you have to rebalance your soul. And if your soul is the unique thing that exists within you that's different from every person in the world, then you need to really start going deeper into some contemplation about what your purpose is here on this planet. And everybody, everybody, I think, on some level, it may be buried, it may be deeply unconscious, but we all have a purpose of why we're here. We all have some sort of understanding of why we are on this planet now at this time. And if we can spend some time contemplating that, it becomes clearer that our interrelation with the people around us, the planet around us, the plants, the animals, it plays a part in that. And only when we discover what that meaning of life, as it were, is, are we able to get our own souls in balance. And then once you have those four in balance, then you're able to have a real relationship, not only with the outside world in nature, but also with yourself in your heart.
That's a very interesting point you're making. It was, of course, when it comes to like my personal family and everything we do, we're kind of not always good in finding different balance of different things. But one effort I've been making, and it's been working great with everyone in the family to kind of, so for example, like if there's a bug in the house, I show them a trick of how you can just pick up one with the napkin where you create this easy enclosure and then take them outside. My wife, she's deathly afraid of hornets, and so over time, when we first met, she would be running 90 miles away, 90 miles an hour away from whatever it may be, wherever she would see it or hear about it, to now. She can be around it, have it buzz around it. She'll still get kind of a bit freaked out, but slowly but surely getting over it. And I just simply, not as some kind of, hey, I'm the master of all my fears and all of that, but those small things that I did understand and I could help with, I was always like, hey, look, I'm here. Look how it gets on my hand. And the hornet will walk on hand. I'm like, see, I didn't get stung, because I'm not acting all crazy and erratic. And so I don't know if you, if you have something to say regarding this aspect of it, but, I felt when I was listening to you speaking, I felt like that would be one of these ways that I've been already kind of doing that with my family for the children not to immediately step on bugs, for them
Right.
to immediately want to rip out the flower, for them to immediately be in these, destructive modes, but kind of stop and appreciate it. And the 4-year-old, especially now, he'll walk by and he's like, Dada, look, flower. And he will stop and he'll look at it and he looks around and it will be different types of flowers. So I was like, good, just look at it. Don't rip it out. Just have fun. And so each time he'll just, even when he's by himself, is more observant that way. So I'm not saying that, he's now, mastered something, whatever, but I'm glad that he's now on a different mindset moving forward at 4, and then I can't wait to see at 40 what it would be like for.
Wonderful. Yeah. No, that's a great story. I think, I think we tend in the modern society, we tend to be very unconscious about what we're doing. and we'll squish a spider, or we'll yank out the plant without even thinking about it, without even like, wait a minute, what am I doing? It's just rip it up, tear up the leaves while you're talking. You're not even aware that you're doing it. And the more it really is about becoming aware of what we're doing, becoming aware of the natural world around us. And yeah, your story about the hornets and the bugs like that, that's great. I always use a little teacup, and I'll put the teacup over the bug and slide a piece of paper, and then just carry it to the window and let it out. It's just going about its own life. It got stuck in the house. It doesn't really want to be in the house. So if you can let it out of the house, then that's wonderful. It's difficult. It's difficult because we've really been ingrained with these fears of pretty much everything these days, and we need to start doing things differently. Living in fear does absolutely nothing to help anything. Even if there is actually something to be concerned about, being fearful of it isn't going to help you relate to it, isn't going to help you deal with the problem. It's just going to raise your anxiety levels and cause more trouble and strife in your life. So yeah, that's beautiful that your son looks at the flowers without picking them, and enjoys the beauty in it. Because when you can start to see that beauty in the earth, it really sort of turns a corner, and you can start to see that beauty everywhere in the natural world, because it really does exist there. And that's why it's so important to spend the time out in nature, just sitting, just being quiet, and not necessarily even sitting or walking or whatever you do, but just spending the time observing what goes on between the plants, between the animals, between how your heart feels as you are observing this. Because there really is an entrainment of, it really touches us on a cellular level when we're connected to the plants and animals of the world.
Well, Aaron, thank you very much, for sharing everything with me today. So, is there any other final thoughts that you would like to leave me with today?
Yeah. Well, I'd like to say I I think that back in December of 2012, we had the end of the Mayan calendar, and it was a big, huge deal because it was the end of a 5,126 year cycle. And it's also considered the shift when we moved from the age of Pisces into the age of Aquarius. And it's a time of profound upheaval and change. And I think that what happened was, the day, I think it was December 23rd, the day passed, and everybody said, oh, nothing happened, so let's just keep going. But if you look back from that time to where we are now, everything's different. Everything has been changing. Everything continues to change. And if you're talking about a 5,000 year cycle or a 12,000 year cycle, whatever it may be, it's not just one day it's like this and the next day it changes. It's a long period of transition as we shift from one into the next. And I think that may have been, a specific point on the calendar where the ancient people said, oh, well, now this is when it changes over. But in reality, we've been going through these changes over the past number of years. And I think it's quite obvious, especially over what's happened over the past 2 years, that we are now living in a completely different world. And it's really becoming time for people to wake up and start paying attention to what's going on around us. And so in the book, I have something called the Sevens, and it's a series of practices and thoughts and ideas that we can do to really integrate these practices into our daily and daily lives. And so the 7 precepts is one of the sections, and in that section I call it a way to take charge of your life, and it really involves these seven things. And the first one is just to slow down. We really need to slow down and take our time. And then we need to expand our heart. We need to open up the heart center and start in training with the other plants and animals and people in the world to get us back together. The next one is nourishing the body, making sure you're breathing and eating healthy, good food, not all this poisonous plastic and all the stuff that's out there. I'm sure a lot of people know about that now. Then we have to calm the mind. That's the glass of dirty water, just letting it sit and settle. Cultivating the spirit, that's going out into nature, making a relationship with the plants and animals, honoring your soul, honoring who you are deep down, that unique part of you that really needs to be cherished and grow into something special. And then really the final one is just loving yourself and loving the planet, so that we can all can move forward into a much better world ahead.
Aaron, thank you for that. I appreciate it. Well, thank you again for taking the time to talk to me today. I'm going to definitely have all the links about the book. And do you have a website, or I'm trying to remember exactly. I saw it
Yes,
earlier, but I can't
I have
remember what I saw.
reconnecting to the earth.com is the book website, and then Art of Zen Yoga is my my Zen Yoga website.
All right, good deal. I will have all those links in the description below, so that I just could check out and see what more information you have, or possibly even contact you. All right. Well, thank you again.
No,
I'm
thank you so
glad.
much. It's been wonderful.
Appreciate it. So yeah, we'll stay in touch, and we'll see each other again.
Look forward to it. Take care.